It's the Abba podcast. Let's go. And the next guest on our podcast, he's played at the highest level, both for New South Wales and Australia. 1991 Premiership winner, Mark Geyer. Mark, how are we?
G'day, brother. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad. Can't complain yourself.
I'm really good. Just finished at the gym, ready to talk a bit of footy.
Nah, and footy we will, man. Round 3, what was the moment of the week? What stole the moment for you?
Oh, probably Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I suppose, and Billy Kickow, the hands of God. I think both players were desperate in saving their team's bacon, and they both got away with a victory because of a bit of an effort from both players. So I love that. I suppose the other thing that caught the eye was the carnage of the injury toll. So as we speak, I think the NRL are meeting with the Independent Commission and the Players Association to try and nut out some way of introducing an 18th man.
So what's your stance on the 18th man? Do you think they have to govern it, go with it heavy? Do they have to have certain conditions where 3 HIAs have to be in place before they can use this 18th man? What's your stance on it?
Yeah, I don't know about 3. That's a bit exorbitant. I think having 3 HIAs. I mean, I just want to see a fair fight. You know, I don't want to see teams reduced to no players on the bench. I'd like to see actually 2. I'd like to see an 18th and 19th man that are used purely for concussion. And let me stress too that they can't be used. They can only be used once the player's been deemed not to be able to take the field again. I think because we are leading the way as a code as far as HIA goes, I think we've got to lead the way in trying to make it a fair fight with rugby league teams. I'm all about attrition, don't get me wrong. I love the introduction of 6 to go. I love the introduction of the 1 ref, and I love the introduction of the captain's challenge. But I think we've gone a little bit too far with the kicking the ball with the touch and basically trying to eliminate scrums from our game. I think scrums are a necessary evil. You can have a fantastic move from a scrum, a set play from a scrum. And I just think we've got to be careful we don't go too far. We don't go too far and try and turn our game into a touch footy or an Oztag type of footy where it's just, there's no rest whatsoever. I know the Thursday night game between Penrith and Melbourne, there wasn't a penalty in the first half awarded. There was only 1-6 to go. And the players were out on their feet, and the body, something's got to give. If they keep, this will only keep going. It's only going to get worse because the players aren't getting any slower or smaller, but the rules keep changing to suit the spectator, which is us. And I'm happy with the code, how it is at the moment. The code. I just don't want to go any further. But I think we should implement a couple of blokes, even guys who have maybe guys who are playing New South Wales Cup or Jersey Flag, put them on the bench. So you're not having 19 first graders. You've got then 18th and 19th men are kind of guys who are on the peripheral. They're in your 30, but they're only youngsters.
See, that would have probably happened back in your days when New South Wales Cup were backing up and you guys were afterwards. It probably would have been easier for this rule to be implemented that way, wouldn't it?
Well, I did. I've been a beneficiary of it. I remember one day I played under the 23s. I sat on the bench for reserve grade and got on, and then I sat on the bench for first grade and got on. And so that you have to have 3 grades. You have to have 3 grades at the one ground, at least 2 grades at the one ground, so that the players who play that game can then sit on the bench as the 18th and 19th men. I don't see why we can't do that. Jersey Flag play each week. Canterbury Cup play each week. So surely we can work it out that before each NRL game, there's at least 1 game beforehand, so that there we get our 18th and 19th men.
Yeah, and that would have helped the teams like Canberra and the Sharks over the weekend. How did you feel what happened with the Canberra Raiders? Ricky Stewart's Ben, can we say they were robbed? What's your stay there? Should the bunker have intervened?
I think so. I think if we can tell that a player is 2 inches in front of a kicker when trying to rule on whether a player's offside or not in awarding a try, then we can tell if that was a forward pass on the weekend. I think everybody on the field, everybody watching at home, thought that the pass to Murdoch-Masila was forward, and it's a howler. It's one of them things that we shouldn't see in our game with so much technology. Obviously, the line ball ones are going to be hard to police, and I don't want them to be policed because referees are only human as well. But ones like that, which ultimately cost you a game, they can't be in the game anymore because we've got the technology. Let's use it.
Yeah, look, use it indeed. And finally, on round 3, the South Sydney Roosters. Are you putting a line through them? Are they still a top 4 team, top 8 team? What are we with after losing Kiri? Big loss.
Look, there's been a lot that's happened since then. Obviously, when it first happened, I put a line through them as far as winning the comp. I can't put a line through them not making the 4 or the 8 because I still think they're very much a professional club. So as long as they've got, Tedesco and the Morris boys, and they've got some big boppers up front who can handle most things. They've got some troops coming back in, Friend and Verrills and Radley. So I don't think you can ever discount them. But there is word that there might be an SOS to James Maloney over in the Super League. And I'm hearing also that Blake Austin, who's over in the Super League's name, has been thrown up. So the Roosters will prevail. You always know that the Roosters have got something up their sleeve. And at this moment, as we speak now, you can bet there's something going on behind closed doors to try and find out if James Maloney, they can afford him and get him under the cap, and B, whether or not Blake Austin is the man for the job either. But watch this space.
Yeah, watch the space indeed. I messaged Buzz Rothfield, I had him on the podcast last week. I go, what's a go with the noise we're hearing from the Roosters? He's adamant they have no money in the cap. They're going to have to get rid of someone to possibly accommodate for Maloney. And, geez, the Rugby League board won't be too happy because the rules get bent time after time for the Roosters. We've seen it time with Sonny Bill. We've seen it with, it's always with the Roosters.
Suwali.
Yeah, Suwali's another one. And he also mentioned an interesting point yesterday. Sam Walker is 18 years old. The youngest halfback to lead a team to victory, to win a premiership, was Daly Cherry Evans at 22. So it's added pressure for Sam Walker and the Roosters, and Trent Robinson's men have to do something miraculous to turn the tides this season.
Yeah, and I think before that was Peter Sterling, who was 21 in 1981. So, yeah, look, it's obviously a concern. The Roosters are one of the most competitive sporting bodies in the world, not just in Australia or not just in the NRL, but they don't leave any stone unturned. And they know that they can't probably win the comp with Sam Walker as their half or 5'8". With Drew Hutchison as well. Lockie Lamb got injured as well, don't forget, not in the same game. It was a double whammy for them. So yeah, they'll be searching for someone to maybe sit in the halves with Sam Walker, an experienced player, and James Maloney. Look, he fits the bill. If they have to get rid of someone, well, they have to get rid of someone, because at the moment it's all about winning comps, and I don't think they can win the comp without Luke Keary.
Yeah, look, I agree. And Maloney hit a field goal in extra time for the Catalans over the weekend. Geez, talk about victories. The guy can find a victory.
Oh, yeah.
So we're looking at round 4 with Mark Geyer. Takes us to Brookvale Oval. We've got the Manly Sea Eagles up against the Penrith Panthers. Mark, what's got to change for the Panthers for Manly to be a bit competitive in this one?
Maybe the Panthers bus breaks down and they can't get to the ground. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it's look. Beware the wounded eagle. Beware. I know that there's always a bit of a graveyard for us back in the day when we played Manly over there. It was always hard to win, and this will be no different. Their backs are against the wall. They're not expected to win. The bookmakers have got them. I think Penrith are at $1.10, so we can call Manly versus Winks. But they just have to show some urgency. That at the moment, even their international players don't look like they've got anything up their sleeve. So I'm sure they're going to have a better account of themselves, but I can't see them beating Penrith. Not the way Penrith are playing. And
look, and the scary thing is Penrith get added bolstered with Nathan Cleary coming into the team. Burton will shift to 14 on the bench. They do lose Dylan Edwards, but geez, it's not by the lack of, you got Charlie Staines, Stephen Crichton, Tyrone May. They can put absolutely anyone at fullback.
Yeah, I'd put Crichton fullback. I think Crichton is a natural fullback, and I'd put Tyrone May in the centres, and then you put Burton at number 14. There's a crisis averted. Yeah,
look, and I think Manly Warringah are up against that at home. Yeah. Hopefully we don't see a cricket scoreline. The Penrith Panthers are looking fire this season.
They are looking good. Only 3 rounds in, brother. So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, look, 100% with you, Mark. The next game we've got Friday night, Good Friday. We've got the Canterbury Bankstown against South Sydney Rabbitohs. How do we see this one? Can the Bulldogs get on the scoreboard this week?
The first three games of the competition this weekend are all pretty one-sided as far as the bookies have got them. The Bulldogs against South, big outsiders, Bulldogs, and what we've seen from them in the first three rounds, they deserve to be outsiders. South Sydney, on the other hand, were fantastic against the Rabbitohs last week. Against the Roosters. They came out of the blocks breathing fire. Geyer was great off the bench. Matangi and Suar in the back row are firing. Cam Murray, they've got Damien Cook. And let's not forget the two stars of their team in Latrell Mitchell and Cody Walker. So I can't see South Sydney winning. I can't see the Bulldogs beating South. In fact, I think it's going to be a pretty big score against the Doggies, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, look, and the Bulldogs are going to be missing Josh Jackson and Jeremy Marshall-King on top of what a depleted roster that they've got. What do we see for the Bulldogs in this game, effort-wise? What do they have to do to make sure they're competitive?
Well, it's very similar to Manly, aren't they? They're in the same position. There's probably three teams at the moment that are in the same position. It's Manly, it's Canterbury, and it's the North Queensland Cowboys. They're just so far behind the other 13 teams at the moment. It's not funny. And the good thing about rugby league is you're only one win away from getting some mojo back. And if they can find something, if they can dig deep and find something that gives their fans and themselves are what counts. If you can come off the field and go, well, you know what, we gave 100% in that game. South were the better team and they beat us. But if you come off the field knowing that you didn't play to your ability, well, the fans want more. We want them to go to the games. We want them to buy the jerseys. We want them to be members of our club. So let's give them what they want. And that's just 100% effort. As a fan, that's all you want from your team is 100% effort. Look, Trent Barrett, I believe, is a good coach. I think that there was a lot of fanfare in the off-season about how good they would go with Kotrick and Hetherington. And they've got Josh Adokar going there next year. They've got Matt Burton going there next year, but that's next year. So they've got to worry about today and tomorrow. And that's a big problem for the Bulldogs at the moment. No Josh Jackson, as you mentioned, he's their heartbeat. I worry for the Doggies this weekend.
Yeah, look, and talk to us about Latrell. For people who wrote him off last year that he wasn't a fullback, boy, has he set the game alight this season.
He's just in a good space. He just looks like he's having fun. And a lot of our star rugby league players, you look at him compared to Daly Cherry Evans at the moment. Daly just doesn't look like he's having fun. Even in his press conferences, he's, and obviously when you lose 3 games in a row, no one's having fun. But training's got to be fun. You've got to wake up every morning and have a spring in your step when you're playing such a high caliber of rugby league. And at the moment, these 3 teams, the Bulldogs, the Seagulls, and the Cowboys, don't look like they're having fun. And I suppose that's indicative of losing 3 games in a row. But they've got to find their mojo. They've got to find something. And Brisbane showed last week that once you have a win, the Dragons showed the Dragons were under the same belt. They were getting hammered from pillar to post. Ben Hunt, Hook Griffin, McCulloch, and they win 2 games in a row. No one's speaking about it anymore. The only way to silence your critics is for a win, and I don't think it'll be this weekend for the Doggies. But Latrell Mitchell, he's looking at unbelievable. If he's fit around Origin time, you could have Tedesco and Latrell Mitchell in the same back row, with Latrell slotting into a centre spot, which is deadly.
Yeah, it's scary and it's interesting. It's good for us New South Welshmen, Hopefully we see Latrell and Tommy Turbo back as well in that back line and take back what's ours. And then we've got a doubleheader on Friday. The Good Friday special. We've got the Melbourne Storms up against the Brisbane Broncos. The Melbourne Storms will be welcoming back Ryan Pappenhausen and Branko Lee. Talk to us about this. What do the Brisbane Broncos need to do to make sure this is a competitive one?
Again, it sounds like a broken record, but the last 2 games exactly the same effort. They played, even though the Bulldogs should have scored the try when Elliott made a break and passed to young Flanagan who spilled the ball. But that could have changed the whole fabric of the game and the whole direction of the game. It didn't. Again, they've got to compete. I think Kevy Walters is the man for the job. I like him as a coach. I like him as a bloke. I like how passionate he is, and surely some of that's got to roll for his players. If they keep improving each week, well, they're doing their job. They're only a young side. I think them and Penrith are the 2 youngest teams in the competition. Look, Payne Haas is only a week away from coming back as well.
Payne Haas returns this week. Payne Haas and Matt,
this week.
Yeah, this week, and Matt Lodge this week.
Oh, that's massive. Yeah, that's massive. Obviously, probably wish they were playing another team besides Melbourne, who welcome back Pappenhausen. But at the moment, it's up in the air. We don't know where they're going to play because if Victoria close their borders to Brisbane, they could have trouble playing at AAMI Park. We could see this game played at ANZ Stadium after the other Friday night game.
It's looking almost a certainty to be 2 hours after the Bulldogs game because they've had 8 confirmed cases there. The borders are going to get closed. So 100%. It's more than likely looking to be 2 hours after the Good Friday clash, this one here.
Okay, there you go. Just told me something I didn't know. So well done.
No, thanks, man. Then we've got the game Saturday. Cronulla Sharks up against the North Queensland Cowboys. How do we see this one? We've got Nene McDonald coming into the side. A lot of Will Kennedy and Graham 50-50 because of the concussions. Where are we seeing this one?
Well, again, Sharkies were under the pump like the Dragons, like these other teams that we're talking about without a victory so far. And Sharks' first game of the year, they beat the Dragons, and everything goes quiet. The following week, they should have beaten the Raiders. And last week against Parramatta, well, we really don't know what would have happened if they had a full complement of players. So they're playing for their coach, and that's the biggest accolade you can give any team. It's the biggest accolade you can give John Morris because all this speculation about him not having the team and he's lost the team's passion and all that type of stuff. Well, it couldn't be further from the truth. But John Morris is doing a fantastic job, and when he played, he was a very fit player, one of the fittest. To play over 300 games, you've got to be a fit player, and I think his team are just mirroring what he does. He's one of them guys who I think he's a real good man manager. He's had a lot to do with the pathways at Cronulla. The Cowboys, on the other hand, well, Josh Maguire summed it up beautifully after the game on the weekend where he just said, we've got to be better. They've got Origin players, they've got Australian players in their team, but it makes me think whether or not Todd Payton pulled the right bow when he come out publicly and lambasted Tom Tamalolo, and then said the same thing about Val Holmes, that he's not playing wing fullback, he's playing wing. So maybe in hindsight, these things should have been done behind closed doors because the start of the season hasn't backed up what Todd Payton wanted to say. And this is a hard game for the Cowboys to win. Sharks, I think, have got that gritty steel about them, and I think the Sharkies will beat the Cowboys, and they'll be 4-0, 0-4.
Yeah, look, I think I share the same sentiment. Todd Payton was playing with fire with that one. Look, it's 50-50 coming in as a new coach. It's tough and hasn't seemed to pay off as of yet for Todd Payton's men. We look at Saturday, Seabus Super Stadium. We've got the Gold Coast Titans up against the Canberra Raiders. This one's looking to be a blockbuster.
Wow, yeah. Well, we spoke about Canberra and how unlucky they were against the Warriors, but the Titans are 4th in the competition. Can you believe it? You look at the table and you've got Penrith and Parramatta up top. You've got the Titans 4th, and you've got Melbourne 11th. You've got Manly 16th. So the table is eerie at the moment, and the Titans are playing a really good brand of footy on the back of Tino Fasua, Malaawi, and Fafita. When you've got two guys like that in your team, nothing much can scare you. They're big, mobile, athletic. They can play 80 minutes if they had to, and I'm predicting a little bit of an upset here. I'm backing the Titans against the Raiders. I think the Raiders haven't hit their groove yet. Their first game against the Tigers, that was 6-6 at half time until they finally ran away with it. And their next couple of games against the Sharks, we just mentioned the second game against the Sharks, a bit sketchy. And then a loss last week to the Warriors. So obviously there was mitigating circumstances why they lost the game against the Warriors, and I feel for them. But I think the Titans are on a bit of a roll, and I think whichever home game this was at, and it happens to be Seabus, so it's a Titans home game. I'm leaning towards the Titans win.
Yeah, look, and the Titans have a lot of big, like you said, agile ball-playing forwards. Reminds me a bit of Des Hasler's. When he was at the Bulldogs, he had a lot of ball-playing forwards, and the success they had then, I feel that the Gold Coast Titans are in for a big season this one.
Yeah, well, remember James Graham and Aidan Tolman and Big Eastwood, they kind of changed the way forwards played there for a couple of years, and once everyone kind of cottoned on to what they're doing, that kind of stopped. But for two or 3 years there, that interchange of big men passing the ball was awesome. And it's something, as you mentioned, good point you make, that the Titans are implementing the same type of strategy, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, and look, and the Ricky Stewart's boys, you can't forget the first half. The second half, they were depleted. They did come out firing against the Warriors. So this will be a close one, guys. And we do see an upset on the cards because we both share the same sentiment, but it's one not to be missed. The Newcastle Knights, so we come down to the Novocasia in town up against the St. George Illawarra Dragons. The Newcastle Knights, they have a bad record against the Dragons up at McDonald Jones. A lot of mistakes, a lot of errors in the game against the Tigers. The Dragons look promising. They had a lot of character in their victory over the weekend. How do you see this one, MG?
Yeah, Ben Hunt not there. He played on bravely with a broken leg, a little chip in the fibula or tibula, one of them bones near your knee. I've loved what I've seen from the Dragons in the last 2 games, but this is a big test for them. Tyson Frizzell's waiting up there for his old team, and Mitchell Pearce, his 300th game last week. He scored a try, but they couldn't get the money for him. Look, I'm leaning towards a Knights victory, but I'm not doing it with any confidence. I think Zach Lomax is probably the one of him, and he's pushing for an Origin berth, no doubt about it. He's in unbelievable form. I'd actually give him the captaincy role if now that Ben Hunt's out injured. I reckon he's a made captain. He's a do as I do and as I say type of player, which I love. He's the goal kicker. Hasn't missed a goal since round 18 last year, and he scored 22 points on the weekend. So the guy is a fantastic player. He's also a lovely kid. We spoke to him on the radio through the week, and just a pleasant kid, just a real pleasant kid. And I wish him well. I wish the Dragons well, because they copped it earlier in the year. They copped it deluxe. The way they handled McInnes, the way that McCulloch was brought to the club. Ben Hunt's been under the pump ever since he's played, but now he's found someone. He's found an ally, and the ally is his coach, and the coach has empowered him. And I like the way that Griffin's gone about it. I like Anthony Griffin as a coach. I think it's going to be a really tight game, but I think the Newcastle Knights will win just because it's a home advantage, and they lost last week. They don't usually lose 2 in a row at home.
Yeah, look, the Newcastle Knights hoping to get a victory over against the St. George Illawarra. You got Edric Lee coming back into the back line for the Newcastle side, who struggled last week with a lot of mistakes. The forwards have been going forward and doing a really good job for the Newcastle side. It's a close one, and hoping I'm a Newcastle fan, and I know you're doing Triple M at Newcastle, so hoping the boys get over the line.
Yeah, you better go for Newcastle, brother. You better go for Newcastle.
I've never tipped against them, MG, never.
Good boy.
Thanks. We've got the Sydney Roosters up against the New Zealand Warriors at the cricket ground. Do we see the Roosters bouncing back, or the Warriors going back to back?
Wow, I'm thinking Warriors back to back. I just think it will take a week or 2 to get over the fact that Luke Keary's not there anymore, and once they get over that, the training and ball work and all that type of stuff, it might take a week to 2 to get over the fact that their best player's not going to be there for the rest of the year. So that's sometimes hard to come to terms with. The Warriors they're big, they're strong, they're fit, and they've got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who is just in sublime form. And what a loss he is to our code once he leaves and goes to the Union. But I tell you what, he's making every post a winner in his last year at Rugby League, because every time he takes the field, he competes. He wants to win. He does so at any cost, and it rubs off on his players. Adam Fanua-Blake is a fantastic buy for the Warriors. One of the buys of the year. Young Bailey Sirinen likewise, and Cody Nikorima he's found his running game, which is highly deadly to other teams. So, yeah, I'm thinking another upset here. As for the bookies will have, I think the Roosters instilled as favourites. But they did drop they went from $6 to win the competition down to $11 to win the competition on the back of Keary's injury. So I'm thinking the Warriors go back to back here.
Yeah, look, the only promising sign for the Roosters is you got Victor Adley returning this week with Butcher as well, both returning to the side. But Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, boy, did he take the game away from Canberra Raiders last week. He'd be looking to do a similar performance against his old club. And I don't think the Warriors are too far outsiders. I share that same sentiment also, man.
There we go.
Then we've got this one Monday. West Tigers up against the Parramatta Eels. This is going to be a close one. I'm actually looking forward to this. How do we see Mitchell Moses is in a bit of doubt? Do we see the Parramatta side as favourites, or how do you share that one?
Oh yeah, I think Parra will start favourites. They have to start favourites. Having 3 wins from 3 games, and they've been really good, comprehensive. Besides that half an hour or 40 minutes in the first game against the Broncos in round 1, they've been really good, beating the Storm, comprehensively. Even though it was a tight game, that Sivo was in fantastic form, and then last week's win, the big guys up front, Paulo and Campbell Gillard, are starting to come into their own, and I'm not sure whether Madison might be back for this game or not. If he is, it's a big plus for them. Dylan Brown's starting to find his running game. Gutho is Gutho. He gives 100% every game, and again, when you got a fullback like that, like most fullbacks who are their marquee player, Tuivasa-Sheck and the like, Pappenhausen's, their enthusiasm rubs off on everybody in the team, and that's exactly what's happened at Parramatta. The Tigers, on the other hand, had a much-needed victory on the road last week, and it was on the back of a couple of young fellas, Tommy Talau and Stefano Utukamanu. I think was watch this kid go. He's going to be something special. I think he's going to be something real special. Adam Dewey was man of the match against the Knights last weekend. I thought he's finally found his feet at number 6. I look, it's going to be a tight game. Easter Monday, public holiday, the battle of the Western Sydney teams. I can't tip against the Parramatta Eels just for the sake that they're 3 from 3 at the moment. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Tigers win.
Yeah, the Parramatta Eels are in red hot form. I think Madge's boys, they showed good character last week. They stuck in there when the going got tough. They didn't give up, especially at the end of that game. And that's good signs for Tigers fans, especially because a lot of them were clicking the panic button earlier on this year. Some interesting signs there.
It's funny, isn't it, when you all these teams under the pump, as soon as they win a game, it keeps the Wolves at bay. Just for that week, you go from being the headlines or the coaches doing this or the players doing that to it's someone else's turn. It's somebody else's turn. This time it's the Cowboys' turn, and it's Manly's turn, and it's Canterbury's turn. One of them have a win, then we stop talking about it. It's a simple game. Just win. Win.
It's a results-driven industry. I know yourself, you're a fight fan as well. In sports, everyone's got that short-term memory. We've got the big fights coming up tomorrow, Wednesday. Tim Zoo and Hogan, are you going to be tuned into that? Where do you see that one?
Yeah, 100%. Timmy Zoo, man, what a special kid he is. I like Hogan's style. He's a tough bugger. I just think age is on Timmy Zoo's side. I think Hogan, for all his experience, I think just as far as the fitness goes, I think Timmy Zoo's going to have him covered. And he's turned into a bit of a viper, young Timmy Zoo. His punches are starting to hurt. When he first started out, he was really quick, and the opponents couldn't see the punches coming. But now his punches are starting to have some sting behind him as he's getting older and thicker. So I think Timmy Zoo by knockout in about round 5, round 6. Yeah,
look, it's a good one. Tune in, guys. Australian boxing's putting on a special. We're actually spoilt with boxing. We've got George Kambosos up against Teofimo Lopez for the unification bout. So we've got a lot of talent on the line in Australian boxing at the moment.
Boxing, UFC, we're holding our own with the world as far as all the combat sports goes, and it's the way we are as a small nation of champions.
Yeah, no, champions indeed you are. Mark Geyer, thanks for coming and joining us on this preview. Last message for the fans and the people watching.
Yeah, just enjoy the footy this weekend. Enjoy your Easter break because, don't forget double demerit start on Thursday night, and be safe and love the one you're with.
Legend. Mark Geyer, guys, thanks for joining us, and